As we know, the United States has carried out a continuing military occupation inside of Syria, in which Donald Trump announced that we are there for the oil, which is probably about the most honest thing a U.S. politician has ever said. They straight out directly said that they were there to capture the oil reserves inside the country with no pretext, no weapons of mass destruction, no getting rid of dictatorship, no defending the Kurds, no excuse whatsoever. Just straight up invade the country, take the oil. And it's nice that Donald Trump just completely tore the face off of imperialism, which is strange because the mainstream media just seems to, well, not point that out. Just say, oh, Trump is going back into Syria to get the oil. Any comment on what he just said as being like basically imperialism? Oh no, we don't really have anything to say about that. Well, according to the Deir ez-Zor blog, the area in the country which holds that kind of oil, the Syria's largest oil fields, the government of Deir ez-Zor, the Deir ez-Zor 24 blog, it's a news blog, reported on November 14th that Connections in Deir ez-Zor, a team of Aramco's experts had already visited and inspected the Al Omar oil fields in the southeastern area of Deir ez-Zor. Well, if you're familiar with who Aramco is, it's one of the Saudi oil companies. In fact, this was one of the ones that was attacked not too long ago by Yemeni forces when they piloted a bunch of drones into the oil facility and knocked down 50% of Saudi Arabia's oil producing capacity, which sent a great deal of chaos into the oil market and was a massive, massive embarrassment for the Saudi government, who previously claimed that such attacks could not be carried out from Yemen, that they were safe from any kind of thing happening. So naturally, in order to save face, you blame Iran in this situation. But here's a little bit more according to the blog. The investment will be done through contracts that will be signed by Aramco and the U.S. government, whose forces control the majority of the oil and gas fields in northeastern Syria. Essentially, Saudi Arabia signed a deal with the U.S. government to steal Syrian oil. Yeah, maybe something looks weird here, like this is straight up theft, and nobody in the mainstream media seems to be able to report this. Kind of like not even happening. In fact, U.S. actions inside of Syria have just gone like completely unreported for the last little while. It's amazing that this can happen. The United States essentially the U.S. military is essentially being used as a mercenary force for Saudi oil companies. As God knows, the Saudi military is bogged down right now in Yemen in a war that they can't win. So naturally, of course, people who signed up to the U.S. military to defend the country, assuming they actually really believe that, you get to go to Syria and hold the oil fields for Saudi Arabia. I hope you feel that's worth risking your life for. Now, the Pentagon announced that it's going to keep about 500 troops in eastern Syria to guard oil fields in the northern Al-Hasaka and southeastern Azor. And the U.S. military presence is illegal under international law. It is not welcomed by the people. It is not welcomed by the Syrian government, and in fact goes completely against international law. But that aspect of it is, of course, being completely overlooked. The United States is going to do whatever it is that it wants. If Aramco does indeed move in to invest in Syria's oil field through illegal contracts in the U.S., without the consent of Damascus, Saudi Arabia could see itself in a serious crisis with Syria and its allies, first of all, Iran and Hezbollah. Now, if they did decide to start pumping Syrian oil, without the permission of the Syrian country, you could probably expect them to maybe their oil refineries to be hit with a few missiles in the coming weeks as they attempt to build pumping stations and whatnot throughout the country, which wouldn't be a bad thing to do, but you have to be careful what you say on YouTube. You can't threaten or you can't support acts of violence unless you're an Israeli settler uploading a video of Palestinians being forced off their land, laughing at them, calling them to be killed, in which case YouTube is actually just fine with videos like that. Now, last September, the Iranian-backed Houthis, as I said, in Yemen did attack the oil production facility inside of Saudi Arabia and caused about a 50% decrease in their productive capacity, which, according to several sources I saw, is right about back to where it was before all the damage was done. But it's very interesting to note that this is really being done without the veneer of anything anymore. Usually, you get false flag attack like the USS Cole that's used as justification to do this or to do that, or championing freedom or weapons of mass destruction to cover for this. But it's not even being done at this point. They're just outright doing it. And it's nice that the face has finally come off imperialism, and they're not even pretending this has some loftier goal. And still people seem to be relatively okay with it. I mean, those of us in our circle certainly denounce this, but the regular American person still doesn't seem to care. And God knows that the people who support Trump are supporting this, and they don't even know what's going on. They don't even understand. And they're still doing it. But this does, again, show the great connection between Saudi Arabia and the United States, that this is much more than Bush family money being invested from Saudi Arabia. And that was one of the big criticisms that was made of the Bush family, was their connections to the Saudi royal family. And it goes much more than that. It goes much deeper than merely the Bush family. There's a very long-standing trade and investment connections, etc., between the United States and Saudi Arabia. And this here is a perfect example of that.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.